All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our next episode of Board Game Talk. Board Game Talk. I'm John.
I'm Joe.
And today we're talking about our top spooky cooperative games. And I put that in quote for a reason, because as all good spooky games do, sometimes you can't always be allied with the same people all the time.
No, because of the spirit supernatural realm. There could be some evil spirit or demon possessing one of your friends, which is not going to end up good for either side.
Or you. Could be possessing you.
It could be possessing me. I hope not.
It might be possessing you.
That would be scary. That would definitely would be. That would probably.
Or would it be any different than it is now?
Oh.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so yeah.
We have one game that I like, one game that you like, and then our game of the week as well.
Yes.
So we're gonna jump straight into a full cooperative game, and this one is called Mysterium. If you have not played Mysterium before, and I also have that as well right next to me, because this thing is got to be one of our favorites, introducing a non-board game player to a lot of board game mechanics without feeling intimidating, because the whole time you're encouraging them constantly to be going with you and everything. So in this one, it starts off, you got your spooky house, and your investigators, I guess, you do seances and all that stuff. You're psychic investigators, I suppose.
Yes.
And you are looking into these clues of this dead ghost, because there's been stories from this mansion of this ghost, all spooky-like. And so what happens is you take turns. The ghost draws these special, and I'll bring that up here on my side of the screen, if I can turn that there. These special clue cards, and then they cannot talk. They can only give you clues based off of things like your murder location, the weapon that was involved, and then what was the other one? It's your...
it's a suspect, its location, and its weapon.
Right, person, place, and thing. And then each clue card that they give a player, and they can give them any number of clue cards per round, but that has to lead them to a specific suspect.
Yes.
And then over here, you can see that it's lined up different suspects, different locations, different weapons, and based off of the clue, the person or the investigator has to determine what the ghost was trying to get at. And what's cool about that is it really makes people think outside of the box. So rather than just having a straightforward, I know exactly how this works because this card says 2 and my says 3 and 3 beats 2, this is very much an interpretation. This is one that you're really good at, Joe.
Yeah, actually, my friends wanted me to play the game, and actually, one of my other friends did an article about it because I'm dyslexic, and I read online that people who are dyslexic usually have kind of a vivid imagination.
Wait, you read online? Ah, see what I did there?
Yeah. Well, I also use text-to-speech recognition software. Anyway, but the point is that I was reading an article, quote unquote, and that the article basically said that a series of articles said that people who are dyslexic have more vivid imagination. So when I'm looking at the cards, when I first played the game, the way that a lot of people play the game is they do it based on association when it comes to a color in the image, or it comes to, for example, or a shape in the image, or something that is associated. So you may have, in one of the pictures, you may have the color blue. Well, the hint card has blue in it. Oh, maybe they're pointing me to the color blue. Or that, oh, here's metal, but here's like a hammer with a metal head on it. So maybe it means metal, something like that. But then when I played the game, I was associating, I did a card that had books on it, and I wanted to associate or direct one of my fellow players to a suspect who was a doctor, and I gave them books. Well, the player couldn't guess what I was trying to say. So she asked...
You gave them books.
Books, yeah. So
you would give them books.
Yeah, I would give them books. So she asked, well, what does book have to do with doctors? And I said, knowledge. Because you need knowledge to be a doctor. Knowledge of anatomy and knowledge of biology to be a doctor. So as they were trying to associate with assuming I was going on an idea. So you can also do that too. So it's far more difficult to do. But when my friends heard that, they were really, really impressed with it because they're like, wow, this is, like you said, it completely opens a new way of thinking. Now you have to think on, a very different level, or can think of a different level in this game. So So they really enjoyed that aspect, and sometimes it's frustrating to do it that way because you have to really think deep. Like, how does Joseph say that? And sometimes I do go with ideas, but sometimes I actually do go off what the picture says, so it's kind of difficult to.
Well, what's cool is you can also house rule, and this is a really good one to do house rules for.
Oh yeah.
We've come up with all kinds of crazy stuff. Like we do a 1-card challenge.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, instead of giving any number of cards, you can only give 1 card per investigator. And that is especially difficult. But in some ways, we found it to be easier.
Yeah.
Simply because if you only have one element of the image, so for me, oftentimes it's colors and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, John's gonna, he's thinking about colors. Sometimes, maybe. But other times, it's just if there's a key on there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just, inhaled some of my coffee.
Yeah.
If there's a key on there, and then I put a key on there, they sometimes think I'm trying to be too opaque or different or weird.
Yeah,
so it's a really interesting one to try to house rule.
Yeah, one has to take into account Occam's razor. Sometimes a simple explanation is the best. So if there's a key on though, and there's another key, go with the simplest explanation, or go with the simplest clue.
But if you know me, you know that's not true at all for me.
Well, sometimes, unless you're just trying.
I'm like the anti-Occam's razor.
You could be just trying to mess with people, just to have fun with it.
Funny enough, I actually did better when I tried to do that as the ghost.
Yeah.
I'm notorious for messing with people in games, and I actually did better when I played as the ghost. I think I'm a great ghost, but people are like, "God, John, you're terrible. Can you not be the ghost this time?"
Well, I mean, it's people say it's terrible, but it's a very subjective thing. It really is subjective.
Is it?
It is. Well, when it comes.
If every single group I play with says that I'm terrible, is it subjective still?
Well, when it comes to the clue given, yeah, you just have to understand how you give clues. Now, if you do randomly to mess with people, that's one thing, and this one is like it doesn't make you a terrible clue giver because your clues are bad. It just is so inconsistent.
That's what I like about you, Joe. If you always stay on the positive side, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
Always spin it in a positive way. That's good.
Yeah. Well, and now there's also an expansion that adds kind of a narrative card that you could also house rule it. And usually the expansion comes with this narrative cards, and the rule is replace it with something else. I personally never like doing that, because it's like you have all these components, and you can actually expand the game in a different way, so you can have 4 levels instead of 3 levels. I personally like to go through the 3 levels, or the 4 levels, because it just makes the game longer. There's more to it. It enhances the experience. So that's my personal house rule that I like to use on the game.
Nice, that's awesome. So pick up Mysterium, Gigabytes Cafe, do it. Play it. It's a full cooperative, and you all win if you can all guess the clues.
There's also,
and then
very quickly,
the ghost player picks whatever the one they think that the group can get the best. But Betrayal is our number 2 game.
Before we go on Betrayal, I just want to make it clear. When it comes to Mysterium, there was a timer, there's a clock that is only 6 rounds. So you have to guess everything within 6 rounds. So that's
otherwise you all lose.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just to clarify that. But now, now we're getting to another very popular one amongst the board game community, which is Betrayal.
That's my spooky music.
Is this spooky music? Or how do you hear spooky music?
I hear it in my head.
Oh, do you? Yes. Yeah, spooky music. But you were saying that it's Betrayal House on the Hill, which is basically exactly, when you look at this game, first thing you think of is B-rated movies and the horror movies. Well, people go into the house and they go into the room they shouldn't go into, even though the audience screams, "Don't go into that room." It's perfect. It's basically that type of horror.
Has anyone ever seen Manos Hands of Fate?
Ugh, don't remind me. Hands of Fate, with the quotation.
I love how it's redundant, because Manos is hands in Spanish, right?
It is Manos hands.
It's like hands.
And hands in
fate.
quotation too. So it's actually in quotations, like. It was a Science Mystery 3000 episode. So if you're interested, go to Science Mystery 3000 minus Hands of Fate, and it's really bad.
It's bad. But this kind of reminds you of that, in that they go full on schlock for all these different storylines.
Oh yeah.
And the cool thing is it's a build your own mansion. So you've got your tiles in different sections, and as players move into new rooms, you draw those cards. So for instance, you might go into an accidental crypt or something. And then you pull up that card, and then before you know it, you have to play like omen cards and stuff like that. They kind of deteriorate the condition.
Yeah.
I've only ever had one game where the players didn't get either injured or maimed or killed before the reveal of the big spooky bad thing. And which is why we put this in cooperative and exclamation points, or not exclamation, what am I saying? Quotation.
Yeah.
Thank you. The reason we put that there is that one player or multiple players often turns into the bad guy.
Yes.
Well, which was your favorite bad guy story you played?
Oh, I remember there was one. I can't remember the bad guys themselves, but I remember one experience I was playing with my friends, and we basically you had to make those. The key is to just defeat the bad guy with an axe. And the way that the game works is, in order to assemble the axe, you have to roll for knowledge rolls.
Ooh.
And what makes it so funny is that we kept on making jokes about, how does this axe work? What is this thing called an axe? How does it work? Oh, okay. So here's a head. You put the head on the staff. Okay, and then you have to swing it? How does it work? And so you keep. That's pretty much the joke we made the entire time. Is like, yeah, we have I'm sorry. We have to use an axe. We have to find out how to use an axe, which is.
And that whole time, of course, there's someone trying to hunt you down, right?
Exactly. So, and it's really.
It's very rarely that there's not a player that is the one who's, turning bad, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty known as the hunt, and those are specific cards that happens that activates the hunt, and it is really fun. And there's some places online, and I think there's still places online that allows you to make an ambient sound for an RPG. And I always love the idea of doing that just for board games in general, is increase the atmosphere by having that. So for the Betrayal, you could have creaky sounds in the background, like people stepping on board or something, and you can always
stop anytime. You're starting to spook me out.
Oh, and then you can have this creepy music like chandeliers hanging, swinging from the ceiling because of the wind. And then you have this sound of the scream in the background. It's like, oh yeah, it would be fun to be able to do that. I love doing that when it comes to my games. Yeah, especially horror games. Turn the lights down low a bit, have some candlelight or dim it down, and just have that sound going on. Have darkness.
That's actually a really interesting point. I never thought about that before in terms of spooky games are the one type of game that you can really create that ambience with.
Yeah.
Maybe with RPGs sometimes.
Oh, yeah,
but in terms of board games, if you're playing Pokemon or I guess whatever other deck building games and stuff.
Yeah,
it's very rare to create an ambient feel, but with spooky games, it's super easy.
Yeah, and I really like the idea. I just like the thematical aspect of it. This is why this time of year is my favorite, because you have Christmas and Halloween, which are two polar opposite holidays when it comes to the spirit of it and the message. But at the same time, they're very thematic. It's the only holidays I know of that you celebrate pretty much month long. So Halloween comes up, but you keep on celebrating it. You watch horror movies, you go to haunted houses, and for Christmas, you do the same thing. You may go to a Christmas light show. You may go and help the hungry or the homeless or the hungry.
Yeah, charity and all
that. Exactly. So you do. It's a month-long thing, which I really do like about the time of year.
Cool.
So it's very thematical, those two holidays.
So if you want a game that's great, I think it's 3 to 6 players.
3 to 6, and also if you're interested, there's also upgrade pack that upgrades the components. You upgrade the dice and you upgrade the player boards if people are interested in that. So.
Right, and then the Widow's Walk expansion is super awesome as well. So
yeah, just
definitely play the base game a couple of times. You'll find that there are 50 plus.
Oh yeah,
different hunts that you can do.
The hunts. This is the replayability is definitely there. We have 50 plus more hunts. So and
we even sell the legacy one, which actually is in the time frame long before the base game, and then it kind of tells the narrative events that lead up to the base game. So that's really cool.
Oh, so you can play chronologically. Okay, nice, awesome.
Well, yeah, it's set in the time periods before when the players go in the original Betrayal.
I actually showed
so that's cool.
I actually showed my friend that, and she was like, "Whoa, what's this?" Okay, and she played, and I'm like, "This is really fun." The legacy idea. Yeah. I think that may be her first legacy experience. It's always really fun. Legacy is really popular.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole subject for a whole nother board game talk episode for sure. But we have our game of the week, which is going to round us out to the end of our episode.
Fury of Dracula.
This is again one of those quote unquote
Cooperative
co-op games.
Well, this game
There are up to 4 players that co-op together, right?
it's up to 5 players, and one person plays Dracula. The other ones
Ooh.
play the person who's hunting Dracula. You have this board here. Let's see if I can get it out. So I can't. It's a really big board. There you go.
Look at that.
Yeah. So basically, the game is it goes up to. The time limit on it is 2 to 3 hours, so it's definitely an event. But basically, the concept is that you, as Dracula, are trying to spread your influence across the board by raising vampires. And there was a score track or a night and day track that you have to fill out as Dracula. Well, the other players are the hunters of Dracula. You have, of course, one of them is Van Helsing, which is, of course, Dracula's arch nemesis. And the other ones are trying to play this cat and mouse game. Now, what makes the game a hidden role, what it is the fact that one player on the board, normally in some games, you have spaces that have numbers on it. And the player who plays the one who's going around hidden has a sheet of paper that helps them keep track of where they are on the board. So every time they move, they just keep track of where they've been. With Dracula, you don't have numbers, you have cities and names of that cities. So what he has is a deck of cards, and he doesn't have a player piece. That's the thing. So he's keeping track of where he's been on a tableau, and then he also gets to lay down traps. And the reason why he gets to do that is because the investigators who are trying to pick up the trail of Dracula can go to a city and investigate where Dracula's been, try to pick up his trail. And if they encounter one of Dracula's traps, could be hindered for the next couple of games. They could have to fight a monster, which is really interesting mechanic when it comes to fighting. Because the fighting mechanic is kind of like rock, paper, scissors, where you have a card that has a symbol on it, and if you match it with another symbol, you may have the advantage or the disadvantage, depending on which the symbol has priority.
Okay.
And what really what happens is once you find, if you and Dracula in the same spot, then you bring out a player piece that is of Dracula. So you have these pieces here, and you have one that's for Dracula, and then you get to fight Dracula, and if you defeat him, then the players win the game. And if Dracula completes his objective, then he wins the game. So it's
nice. So what I love about this one the most, especially when we play it, is there are certain games where it's almost encouraged to metagame. And metagaming is where you've got the game there, and then you're trying to figure each other out. You're figuring the players out.
Yeah.
So in this one, Dracula can just sit there and play the game, but then the investigators are talking with each other, trying to figure out what's going on. I love that, because then as Dracula, you can pretend to like that you think that they're onto you, and you go,
exactly,
right? And then they may think, oh, we must be getting him in our trap. And I did that to y'all last time we played.
Yeah.
I said, oh, yes, I must be going toward Vienna.
Yeah.
I love the sausages. And then y'all were like, haha, yes. So it got all over Austria, and I wasn't even there.
Yeah, it was there. It's really fun because you get to have this cat and mouse where you can actually get to a point where you move your pieces to try to create a net for Dracula. But sometimes there are so many pieces in places.
A Dracula net, almost like a drag net.
I'm gonna go home, go to bed, and get away from everything. That joke.
Just get away from me, right?
Yes.
A drac net. That's what we're gonna call it.
Dracnet. So it's really fun. We actually have this copy I have is a Fantasy Flight release, but Fantasy Flight lost the license. But WizKids got the licenses back and released a 4th edition. And I have the 3rd one here.
Nice.
So I think the 4th edition, the first printing of the 4th edition has painted miniatures. And we also have that game here, of Fear of Dracula. So it's a really fun game. If you like the cat and mouse element, if you like hunting someone down, chasing them, and you like getting away, barely, I love that game of tag, then, absolutely, this game is definitely something that is right for you. So, and we
got a couple of comments here. We got Shadows of Brimstone, Dead of Winter.
Yes. Dead of Winter.
Betrayal. Yeah, Betrayal definitely is there. So then next week we're talking about spooky party games, because when you have gatherings of a lot of people, sometimes you want to set the mood with a little werewolf or something similar to that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have our top games as well as our game of the week. So make sure you pick up our games at the store at Gigabytes and get playing some spooky fun things. You can even decorate the room and then really get into it.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Joe, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Y'all, see you next week for the next Board Game Talk.